Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Forget Donna in Suits. Sarah Rafferty needs to return to Chicago Med more. Sarah Rafferty may be best known for her role as legal secretary Donna Paulson in the legal drama Suits, but she needs to revisit her Chicago Med role more. She portrayed Dr. Pamela Blake in the One Chicago Medical series on the heels of Suits ending. Both of her characters are charismatic, intelligent, and successful in their respective professions, and also fall in love with their co-workers. Paulson's complex relationship with Harvey Specter is one of the greatest pairings in Suits, while Blake's mentorship and chemistry with Dr. Crockett Marcel is a major highlight in Med's 7th season. Rafferty's characters were also faced with tricky situations, including Paulson tackling tough cases and Blake's complications after surgery on her hands. Fortunately, both managed to overcome their obstacles with tenacity and persistence. If Rafferty is to reprise one of these characters, however, it should be Dr. Blake, because this One Chicago role deserves more development after her character left Chicago Med. By contrast, while Paulson can return in Suits, her story is already complete after a 9-season run on Suits and marrying Specter in the Suits series final. Dr. Pamela Blake is introduced in Chicago Med Season 7, Episode 5, as the new leader of the transplant department. Blake instantly stands out among the doctors at Gaffney thanks to her quick thinking and distinguished skills when operating on patients. It didn't take Blake long to acquaint herself with Dr. Crockett Marcel by teaching him and having the doctor assist her with challenging transplant cases. Initially, Blake is stern with Marcel and the doctors under her mentorship, signifying how seriously she takes her job and leadership role. But throughout the season, she earns the respect of everyone at Gaffney. Blake and Marcel are great colleagues who develop a romantic relationship. However, this relationship takes some serious turns when Blake learns that her daughter, Avery Quinn, has feelings for Marcel. Avery's interference doesn't last long, but when Blake decides to trust Marcel to make medical decisions for her regarding numbness in her hands, she is distraught when her mobility doesn't instantly return after surgery. Blake breaks up with Marcel because she believes he took advantage of her dilemma to take over her position at Gaffney. Donna Paulson has already fulfilled her story in Suits by rising from legal secretary to chief operations officer of the Pearson Specter Lit law firm. Paulson's working relationship with Harvey Specter and building their romantic bond over time further established Donna as a bright and dominant presence on Suits. By contrast, Dr. Pamela Blake's storyline in Chicago Med is just getting started and deserves to continue because she wasn't given a proper conclusion after the surgical procedure for her hands. Blake and Marcel have a final meeting, but it was a cold and unsatisfying goodbye for the transplant surgeon. Fortunately, Dr. Blake regained the full function of her hands after some recovery time. However, due to her contrasting views on Marcel's medical decision-making for her, Blake doesn't want to work with him at Gaffney anymore. It is revealed in Season 8 that Blake plans to take a surgical position at a Boston hospital. This makes it challenging for Blake to ever make a return to Gaffney in the near future, but because of her familiarity with the staff and her tremendous work ethic, the surgeon could decide to go back to Chicago if she wants to. While it seems unlikely that Dr. Blake will come back to Chicago Med, it wouldn't be impossible because the One Chicago franchise has a reputation for seeing beloved characters come and go. Having Blake return to Gaffney next season, or sometime after that, wouldn't be out of the question. The show could reveal what happened to Blake after her final confrontation with Marcel, as well as a brief look at her work in Boston. Perhaps a complex transplant case linking the hospitals in Boston and Chicago could lead to a surprise appearance by Blake in Med. Although Dr. Marcel isn't a part of Chicago Med anymore either, he could also return to the show after his sudden departure in order for him to make amends with Blake or even rekindle their relationship. Having Blake rejoin Gaffney next season could also lead to some intriguing confrontations with other doctors she hasn't met yet, including Dr. Caitlin Lennox, who is reminiscent of Blake's operating and leadership skills, but with a much stricter outlook. Dr. Blake should have her story extended for a few more seasons to prove she still has what it takes to work at Gaffney. When news broke that Sarah Rafferty was joining Suits, fans of the legal drama rejoiced. Donna Paulson was one of the most beloved characters from the original Suits, and her sharp wit, confidence, and charm made her a fan favorite. But while many are excited about her return to the Suits universe, there's an argument to be made that Sarah Rafferty should be focusing her talents elsewhere, specifically on Chicago Med. Rafferty's brief but memorable stint on Chicago Med as Dr. Pamela Blake left audiences wanting more. Her portrayal of the brilliant but complex transplant surgeon was nothing short of captivating. In a show that thrives on intense medical drama and character-driven storytelling, Rafferty fit in seamlessly. So, instead of reprising Donna Paulson in a Suits spin-off, wouldn't it be far more rewarding to see her dive back into the gritty, emotionally charged world of Chicago Med? The Suits bubble versus the Chicago Med reality. There's no denying that Suits was a cultural phenomenon. However, its world of high-end lawyers, slick power plays, and glamorous drama is miles apart from the life-or-death stakes of Chicago Med. As much as Donna Paulson was a fantastic character, the reality is that her arc in Suits concluded in a satisfying way. She got her happy ending with Harvey Specter, and while Suits might bring in new stories, it doesn't necessarily need Donna to succeed. It's time to move forward. On the other hand, Dr. Pamela Blake's story in Chicago Med was far from finished. Her character had depth. She was strong yet vulnerable, a seasoned surgeon dealing with personal and professional battles. Her relationship with Crockett Marcel showed potential, and her departure felt abrupt. There was so much more to explore, from her medical expertise to the interpersonal dynamics that could have made her a staple in the hospital's hierarchy. The power of Sarah Rafferty's screen presence. Rafferty brings an undeniable presence to any role she takes on. Her ability to balance strength with vulnerability made Donna Paulson iconic, but it's that same skill set that made Pamela Blake so compelling. Medical dramas thrive on characters who are not just excellent at their jobs, but who also carry emotional weight, and Rafferty proved she could do that in Chicago Med. Unlike Suits, which relied heavily on power struggles and office politics, Chicago Med explores the raw, emotional realities of healthcare. Rafferty's Pamela Blake had an emotional depth that Suits never quite allowed Donna Paulson to explore. Given more screen time, she could have become a true powerhouse in the One Chicago universe. Imagine the character development if we got to see her navigate not just the but also the challenges of mentoring new doctors, handling personal dilemmas, and even running into conflicts with hospital administration. The potential was limitless. Chicago Med needs more strong female characters. One of Chicago Med's strengths is its ensemble cast, but there has been a noticeable gap in strong, authoritative female characters who command the screen. While the show has had impressive women in the past, it could use a character like Dr. Blake, someone with both the skill and the charisma to take the lead in high-stakes medical cases. Her return could shake up the dynamics in the hospital, especially if she stepped into a leadership role. There could be intense clashes with Goodwin over policy decisions, or moments where she pushes Marcel to be an even better surgeon. And what about a rivalry with Dr. Dean Archer? The chemistry and friction between characters are what keep Chicago Med engaging, and Dr. Blake could be a game-changer in that regard. Suits. Can survive without Donna. While it's understandable why Suits would want Sarah Rafferty involved, the reality is that the franchise doesn't need Donna Paulson to move forward. Suits was an ensemble show, but it ultimately revolved around Harvey Specter and Mike Ross. Without Gabrielle Matched or Patrick J. Adams as major players in Suits, the show needs to build something fresh. Bringing in Rafferty might feel like an attempt to capture nostalgia rather than push the story in new directions. Let's be honest, reviving characters from a concluded series doesn't always work. Sometimes, it's better to let the past stay in the past. Donna Paulson had her time to shine, and Rafferty proved what she could do with that role. Now it's time to see her fully immerse herself in a character with more room for growth and new storylines. The demand for medical dramas is still high. Medical dramas have stood the test of time. From ER to Grey's Anatomy to The Resident, audiences have always been drawn to the high-stakes world of medicine. Chicago Med has cemented itself as a leader in the genre, and the return of a powerhouse like Sarah Rafferty could only strengthen its standing.